All right. So this is a book review, and I figured, you know what? Well, I have Tom Duffy here. He's also read the book. I gave it to him. He's probably a little mad at me. I gave him this book to read, but we're gonna do a our unbiased book review on. There it is. It's the Final Assault by Glenn Evans from Nuclear Assault, a band that I loved growing up. Saw about 1 billion times in concert, and I would see them a lot of the times. They would be sharing a bill with Overkill.
Mm-hmm.
How many times is Overkill mentioned in that book?
Total of 0.
Yeah. So it's like you pick that up and you're like, oh, this is great. There's gonna be some great thrash metal history we're gonna read here. This is gonna be about why they wrote certain songs or who came up with riffs and all this stuff. And it is a drummer who is the greatest drummer in the world, and every musician around him is awful, and they're jerks. He really goes to town on Danny Loca, right?
Yeah.
Basically he's Danny Loca, the bass player, who was most notably was in Anthrax, not mentioned at all. Or any other band, Brutal Truth, any other band he was ever in. It was just like, yeah, so this is like the bass player from Nuclear Assault, and he basically was lazy, and he did a lot of drugs, and he refused to carry his own equipment in. That was basically the thing. He talked about the first TT Quick album he played on, which is the only good thing about that album, according to Glenn, is the drumming. Everybody else in that band was a jerk.
Yeah. Yeah, he was very adamant that anything he did, he was the best at.
Yeah.
Like when he was a kid, he was a ping pong champion and a chess champion.
Right.
But
he could have cured cancer, but he decided to be a drummer instead. I think the funniest part is this. So this is a typical guy, I will say. So I've never smoked weed in my life. I've never done any drugs, but I'm also not stupid, and I realize you growing up in the '80s and everybody's doing these things. This dude did it to the next level, and then he had the balls to basically bitch about how awful cops were. And I'm like, cops aren't picking on you because they don't like your face. They're picking on you because your car smells like weed. They're picking on you because you have drugs on you. They're not picking on you, you moron. They're basically doing their job.
Yeah, it gets to the point where has done absolutely nothing wrong in his life. But for instance, when his guitarist would get hammered, he would then attack him and say, "Oh, you're just a drunk. You're no good." And this is after him writing about how on that same day he drank 2 bottles of this,
right? Yeah,
and did a whole bunch of coke.
It was there wasn't a lot of it. So there wasn't a lot of band stuff. Literally, the book is 200 pages, and about 80 pages details him buying and selling houses.
Yeah,
and moving. It's like the dude has lived in about 1 billion houses, or his sister's basement, like constantly. He would get married, and then it was her fault that the marriage didn't last. Or he was dating this girl, and then it was her fault that it didn't last. And he would buy houses with all these women, and then he'd have to sell the houses. And I expected a lot more from this book. I was very excited when I saw it pop up on Amazon originally. I was like, oh, I got to buy this. I love buying all these books, about musicians and stuff. And I'm like, well, this is autobiography, and hopefully this is going to be great. And it was just was not great. He really didn't mention anybody else, any other musician, except for musicians in his band that he didn't like, which is pretty much everybody that he played with in his entire career. Yeah. And he basically bitched about, he had a problem with every album ever recorded. Not because of what he did, but because of what the rest of the band did. And they, he basically was, it was kind of like apologizing because I should have been around better musicians kind of thing.
Right.
And
I mean, it seemed like also most of the stories he told at this point in time can't even be corroborated in some way.
Yeah.
And some of them are so outrageous that it's like, I think that this is my opinion that he may have greatly exaggerated most of what he said.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really verify a lot of anything he's talking about. I mean, I guess you could, if you want to spend a few days, you can go through tax records and find all the houses that he purchased and sold over the years. Like the way he's talking, I'm like, where did you, a typical musician, where'd you get all your money from? If all you're doing is bitching that Nuclear Assault didn't make enough money, and that how many deals you got ripped off on, and I mean, buying houses and a year later selling that house, you didn't make any money off of that. So just a very frustrating book. I would give this maybe 3 stars.
Yeah,
Maybe 3 stars. 2.75 stars is what I would give. It's probably the worst book I've ever read, autobiography from a musician. And I've read a ton of these types of books, and not all of them are great.
I'd bump it to a 3 for the story where, even though he never took a karate class in his life, some guy tried to rob their van, and he karate moved him and shot him and threw him around like a rag doll.
That is true. Solid 3. All right, Tom, thanks for hanging out with me and doing this, and we'll probably do some more of these, because a lot of the times something I'm reading or something he's reading will go, hey, you should read this. This was one of those books I read it, and I'm like, oh, Tom, you got to read this garbage. Like yeah, read this, but sorry. So there will be more TV shows, movies, and book reviews coming out soon. So please subscribe. Please follow me here on YouTube.